As our world changes, we'll keep you up to date. News Talk KVNU, 102 FM, 610 AM. Also on the new KVNU mobile app.
KVNU News Time is 5:05. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by Roof Rescue. The Utah Department of Health and Human Services is working with partners to provide free air purifiers in public, charter, and private schools through a limited time program. The department partnered with Utah Physicians for a Healthy Environment in hopes to help reduce poor indoor air quality in schools through Utah's free air purifier program. According to program coordinator for early education, Jake Jensen, the department received a grant from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention last April. Jensen said those funds are going to be used to cover the costs of the purifiers and filters for schools. Although air pollutants affect everyone's health, according to a fact sheet available on the Utah Physicians website, children are more vulnerable because their lungs and bodies are still growing, and children breathe more air compared to adults. Jensen said just having the air purifiers in the classroom reduces the airborne toxicity by about 99%. It also has showed that with this decreased toxicity in the air, there's less absences, less transmissions of airborne illnesses. The program has placed air purifiers in over 60% of K through 12 schools across the states and hopes to provide more purifiers to schools in northern Utah before the deadline. KVNU News Time is 5:06. KVNU weather for tonight: clear skies, overnight low in the mid-50s. Sunny and hot mid-90s tomorrow, then upper 90s on Sunday. We've stayed in the 80s so far this afternoon. It's been to 87. It's 86 right now at KVNU. KVNU weather brought to you by Maple Creek Ranch, one of the most beautiful places to build a home in Cache Valley. National forest and hiking trails and streams right out your backyard. Go to maplecreek.net for more information.
This is David from Roof Rescue. This past winter in Cache Valley was the worst in recent memory, reminding us of the sheer power of Mother Nature. Snow, ice dams, and record low temperatures left behind a trail of leaks, broken gutters, and damaged roofs. Let's get those issues inspected and addressed so that when next winter comes around, you can focus your attention on your family, the holidays, and winter activities instead of leaks, drips, and ice dams. Call today for your complimentary inspection at 435-999-4268 or visit us at roofrescueusa.com. Roof Rescue, providing watertight peace of mind.
KVNU News Time is 5:08. Mental health issues are at epidemic rates among young people, but the issue can be hard to tackle in schools. America's health ranking marked Idaho as 6th worst for teen suicides between 2016 and 2021. Megan Smith is an associate professor at Boise State University and founding director of Communities for Youth. Her organization identifies factors leading to poor mental health outcomes and promotes protecting young people. She says some Idahoans are questioning what role schools should play in addressing mental health issues.
The challenge, of course, for schools in this is that they deal with young people every day for several hours a day, and they're dealing with large groups of humans struggling with mental health.
Smith says distressed students not only struggle themselves but can create barriers for other students. Addressing this issue can be tricky. Concepts like social-emotional learning have become a political flashpoint in Idaho and other states where conservatives have pushed back on the perceived liberal bias in schools. However, Smith says names for these concepts may be getting in the way of a much more basic idea.
If we take the words off of it, most of us would agree we want our young people to develop good character and to engage with others using good character.
Smith says one of the most distressing developments in Idaho is the growing lack of data on young people. She says the only statewide information on youth is for suicide death rates and ER visits. And a break-in at a West Valley City elementary school was caught on camera, revealing the unsettling moments as 3 suspects vandalized the premises and left with valuable items from the school. According to a Facebook post by Esperanza Elementary School officials, the incident occurred on July 8th at about 2 a.m., leaving behind a trail of destruction. The entire incident was recorded on surveillance video, providing crucial evidence for police, according to school officials. In 3 different videos, the suspects can be seen taking several mariachi instruments and a computer. They are also seen breaking an office window to get inside the facility. The West Valley City Police Department was notified and is working to identify the suspects in their effort to seek public help. Police released the footage in hopes that the suspects could be recognized and reported. KVNU News Time is 5:10. For more details on these and other stories, visit CashValleyDaily.com.
You're in the market to buy a home. You're dreaming of a new home that you can fill with new memories, but new homes just aren't in your budget. Or are they? Visionary Homes wants you to know you don't have to buy a used home. Buy new. Buy now at Visionary Homes. As a trusted award-winning Utah home builder, Visionary Homes understands that your home is the center of your life, bringing friends and family together, creating memories you'll cherish forever. Buy new, buy now at visionaryhomes.com.
One night in Logan. Spend the evening with the Bellamy Brothers. Healthy Kids Society presents the Bellamy Brothers Wednesday, August 9th at the Logan High School Auditorium. With special guest, the Katie Matthews Band. Tickets start at $20 and are available now at thefit.ticketsauce.com. The Bellamy Brothers, Wednesday, August 9th, 7 o'clock at Logan High School. Get your tickets at thefit.ticketsauce.com.
Heart valve disease is more common than you or your doctor may think, especially as you get older. It's serious but treatable with the proper diagnosis. If you or a loved one are experiencing shortness of breath, fatigue, chest tightness or pressure, dizziness or fainting, talk to your doctor and ask for an echocardiogram to get diagnosed early and enjoy your best quality of life. Learn more at askforecho.com. That's ask4echo.com.
Serving overseas was just the beginning. We might be home from war, but our mission continues in communities all across the country. It's why we're out there in times of peace and crisis, providing meals to the hungry and supplies to the sick. It's why we're giving strength to those who are too weak and bringing resources to those without them. Service doesn't stop when we're done serving. It's what makes us the VFW. Learn more at vfw.org.
Did you know people travel to Logan from all over the country to see performances by Utah Festival Opera and Musical Theater? Why? It starts with 300 professional local and nationwide artists and staff coming together to create magical performances. First, Lohengrin, a mysterious knight, sails into town on a swan to rescue the lovely Elsa, who has been falsely accused of murder. The knight goes, "Don't ask me my name." Elsa goes, "Okay, I won't. Wait, what's your name?" Everything goes downhill from there. The plot's kind of weird, but the music is stunning, and it's only ever been performed 5 times in the United States. Next, Aida the opera version and Aida the Broadway version. See them both. So, Radames is captain of the Egyptian army. He's supposed to marry the pharaoh's daughter, but instead falls in love with Aida, the queen of the country he captured. They can't live without each other, so they don't, because they're sentenced to death and die in each other's arms. There's also Broadway's Oliver, the classic Our Town, plus concerts and more. Utah students from public and private schools get a free ticket to any or all performances and concerts this year. Don't miss out. UtahFestival.org.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it twice a day.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it in the morning and before dinner.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it, and share it with my doctor. Nearly 1 in 2 U.S. adults have high blood pressure. That's why it's important to self-monitor your blood pressure in 4 easy-to-remember steps. It starts with a monitor.
Now that I know my blood pressure numbers, I talked with my doctor. We're getting those numbers down.
Be next to talk to your doctor about your blood pressure numbers. Get down with your blood pressure. Self-monitoring is power. Learn more at manageyourbp.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, the American Heart Association, and the American Medical Association, in partnership with the Office of Minority Health and Health Resources and Services Administration.
KVN News for the people. It is Friday. It is beautiful outside. It's time for the movie show with Andy Morgan. And we have quite a bit to talk about the summer box office numbers, what they tell us about, where movies are at. To quickly run through some of the things you can see here in Cache Valley before we really get into it. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse still playing. That's a long run for that one, but it's still, as I've heard, still selling a lot of tickets nationwide. Disney Pixar's Elemental still in theaters. This was initially panned by critics and early audiences, but I don't know why. It seems audiences have kind of warmed to this one because the box office on this one has actually been holding steady. Though it had kind of a disappointing opening weekend, the box office is well, like I said, held pretty steady. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny still playing, of course, in theaters here in Logan, and I got a chance to see that myself. Finally, Andy has seen it weeks ago as part of a really, really early advanced press screening. But I got to tell you, this one, it's hard to say that any Indiana Jones is your favorite because there are just cool things about all of them, but this one was really good. And as a send-off to Harrison Ford's Indiana Jones, knowing that this isn't the last we've heard of Indiana Jones, I don't know. Maybe it's the end of this franchise, as they're saying, or this specific film franchise, as they're saying. But I guarantee we see a series somewhere on one of the streaming services or even network TV, although I think network TV has tried that and not had good luck. They might not be willing to dabble again. But either way, we'll hear from Indiana Jones again. He's not gone. But Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones came to an end with this movie. And really, just if you like action movies, if you've liked the previous Indiana Jones movies, this is just really a fun movie. That's the best way I can think to say it. Andy was a fan as well, and yeah, get out and see it. If you have to choose something from this the current movie selection, you couldn't go wrong with this one. So that is still playing at both theaters here in Logan. You can also see at one theater, the South Theater, the Providence Megaplex. They are playing Asteroid City. I haven't seen this yet. I plan to before it goes away, but Asteroid City is Wes Anderson, and I think I've said this before. If you know who Wes Anderson is, if you've seen a Wes Anderson movie, any of them, you know exactly what to expect. The guy makes the same, well, I shouldn't say that. The movies aren't the same movie every time, but it's definitely a Wes Anderson movie every single time. And then you can see also Insidious, The Red Door, which we'll be talking about with Andy here in just a second. But I did want to get to this. The big opener this weekend, of course, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, part one, just like the Hunger Games. But I wanted to, and Andy, I know you'll love to jump in on this topic. I wanted to talk about this quickly because this ties in with politics a little bit, which is what we're usually talking about here on the show. But so there's a movie, a fictionalized biopic on Tim Ballard and Operation Underground Railroad in theaters called The Sound of Freedom. It's been kind of controversial because Jim Caviezel, the star, has he's joined a cult. He's a conspiracy theorist.
I blame Mel Gibson.
And he went off during an interview just last week about this secret cabal of people taking blood from teenagers and
not teenagers,
children,
babies.
Yeah, to stay young. They're drinking it, I think he said.
I'm a registered Democrat, and I can tell you that every Friday morning a cup of
George Soros. Sends you your.
I get my
your email.
My
time for the adrenochrome.
My bag of baby blood in the mail.
Well,
someone out there said, "No, that's not funny. You guys aren't funny."
It's just the weirdest thing. This whole operation. So even Attorney General Sean Reyes has run away from this at this point, and he was in the first
sounds like
movie.
a day ago. Tim Ballard ran away from
it.
Well,
That's where I was getting with this. But so where this ties into the movie show is the full story on this is the movie's getting panned. Ballard has basically made up a lot of his superhero origin story, and it hasn't stopped him from dropping into fundraising events on a helicopter, which nothing says your money's going to good use like the founder of the foundation dropping in on a helicopter, right? But this guy has been LARPing as action hero forever, and there have been a lot of stories recently about how he didn't really do much good. He didn't really do what he said he did when it came to saving children from trafficking around the world. So he's a fraud, it sounds like, to a large extent. So much so that he bailed on his own organization this week as this movie came out. And it's controversy all around. But
the dog whistles that happen before something is about to go down, right? I'm sure that there was a meeting between. This is if I'm going.
It's kind of like, hey Tim, why don't you find something else to
do?
Probably
two ways, right? It could either be that he was like, oh man, this org is about to get run through the ringer,
they
right?
Found me out.
Yeah, or they said, hey, look, we think we do good things. We need you to leave, right? I mean, that happens. We've seen that happen just with the other charitable.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the NRA and what was it? Wayne LaPierre.
That's the sad thing. Is Operation Underground Railroad. There are a lot of people involved under Tim Ballard who I think are serious about this, who want to do good, and someone even suggested once, look, we maybe we shouldn't have ever been what Tim pretended we were. And tried to make it look like we were, where we're, they're dropping into South America and kicking down doors. And
nobody wants human trafficking.
Yeah.
No one does.
But someone said maybe Operation Underground Railroad should just be this organization that after actual experts have rescued the children and they bring them here, we then step in and help them find homes, which is a great idea for Operation Underground Railroad. Anyway, so yeah, he's doing the organization a disservice with his
and you're not
zaniness, but
you're not also doing anybody any favors when again, let's say this flat so everybody understands. Everyone agrees that human trafficking is bad. No one thinks, unless you're a human trafficker, right?
I've seen some of that on Twitter.
Right.
People are like, this movie was awful. And they're like,
you're probably a pedophile then.
Yeah,
right.
No,
but we can all agree that, when you go on the news to promote your film and a cause that is a just cause, and you say, by the way...
They're drinking baby blood.
Also, that's not doing anyone any favors, and right?
This isn't the actor's first foray into. He said what?
I don't know.
CNN?
I was watching The Thin Red Line the other day, which is probably what now, almost 20, pushing 20 years old. No, almost 30 years old movie. And Jim Caviezel is a big part of that, and. After watching, he kind of plays this airheaded, just like, woo, I'm out there. And, hey, guys, let's not kill anyone. I want to go swing on a swing and just hide
I forgot about that.
Hide in the tall grass of the Pacific Islands. That's him, right? And as I was watching this, I was like, oh, no, that's really probably him. They were like, hey, you're doing a really good job acting. And he was like, no. I've heard other things. Well, there was a minister on Twitter that said that when Caviezel was promoting.
I saw that.
Did you see this? Yeah, when he was promoting.
He was kind of saying, look, this guy has actually been pretty bullied.
Yeah.
And that might have sent him down into these conspiracy
you find
theory cults.
Places where people... are like, oh, we love you, and then all of a sudden it's easy to...
Which is how the cults recruit.
It does. It is.
It really is. They find kids that are having a hard time or young people that are having a hard time. So it is a sad story, but... Well, so here's where I want to go with this, because it goes back to the movie box office. So this movie, not here, but in places, has been selling out.
But nobody's in the theater. The
theaters
seats.
have had to put up signs that have said, "I'm sorry, this screening is sold out." And then people are going in, and they're like, "There's like 3 people."
Yeah.
And so so all these pictures started popping up, and then video. Like people would take video of themselves in an empty theater, showing that this movie's actually playing, and then
And it
the
says
sold
it's
out
sold
sign.
out, right?
And so the Rolling Stone journalists got digging into this and found out what had happened is that a couple of big right-wing billionaires had basically been
gobbled up the tickets.
Yeah, through a couple of different foundations. That one program, they allow people to buy gift tickets for other people. That was one way they were doing it.
Well, that was the other thing, too. They were talking
Even
about...
if the other people didn't want them and didn't plan to go, you could gift the tickets to them. And then another one, they were just straight up buying tickets themselves.
And it was pay it forward. That was
pay it forward.
There's the pay it forward.
And so that's how they're kind of elevating the quote unquote success of this movie. But hey, just put it to bed, folks. Let's move on and maybe instead go to Mission Impossible. Although I do know a lot of people that are ironic seeing Sound of Freedom, and I can't wait to see their reviews.
I don't think we were given an opportunity to screen it as the press, but I'm not 100% sure.
Really quick because I know you want to talk about Insidious, The Red Door, Mission Impossible, all the stuff that's new. I finally saw Dial of Destiny, Indiana Jones.
And?
I think my favorite one since Temple of Doom.
Nice.
I really do.
I thought it was better than The Last Crusade, and that's saying something because I do like the Sean Connery denominator.
I love the whole the whole opening sequence of The Last Crusade is just fun. And Indiana Jones has always been just one of the better action franchises, I think. And they really brought all of that back to this one.
And don't you like one thing that I liked, and we talked about this, so I won't belabor this. But didn't you like how they weren't like, oh, he's 70 or 80 years old, but it's okay, he still has that action, whatever.
Yeah.
He was like, look, I can't do all the things I used to, and he's in a weird place, he doesn't, I mean, I don't want to give spoilers, but like he's got marital issues, there's some tragedy in his life. He's just kind of by himself, which, I mean, I don't want to sound depressing, but there's a lot of folks in their 70s, that unfortunately they find themselves on the periphery of their children's lives or not at all, right? Because, I mean, sadly, that's just kind of how the circle of life works a little bit. And so it's him trying to figure out, like, what am I doing? What's my purpose?
What I thought was really cool about this, though, is how they pack all of that in some really very succinct ways. So there's this one scene where all of that is conveyed because it starts out with him. So he's in the chair, and he's wearing a white tank top and boxer shorts. He's all sweaty. He probably hasn't showered for days. He's not.
And the hippies have their music turned up loud.
Yeah, and he's banging on the floor because the music's too loud in the downstairs apartment, and it's just this perfect, like, almost caricature of an old man kind of thing.
Did you notice the painting above the fireplace?
That was, but there's a scene where he walks over and he just moves a magnet on the fridge over Marion's face.
Yeah.
He's got a picture of her there for some reason. He moves a magnet on the fridge over her face and walks off. And that kind of just tells you exactly where he's at.
Yeah, and you don't have to...
And then, of course, later he has to, like, quietly remove that magnet when she's there. But the one thing I want to point out, because you said this and I forgot until I saw the movie, and then I'm like, oh, Andy told me that would happen. But they do bring back some favorites from the other movies, but they do it in a way that's not gimmicky at all. Like,
I worried about Sala coming back.
Oh, I love that, though. I also brought my passport.
Yeah, I like Sala.
Very funny line.
And I like... I'm glad that they didn't bring back Short Round or Willie Scott, or... It wasn't like a reunion film.
No.
I do...
There wasn't really... I would have enjoyed Short Round, probably, if he was still doing Short Round as an adult. It might be funny, but there wasn't really a place for him.
And I think it would have... To James
Sala, there was.
Yeah, and to James Mangold's point, it would have taken away from the other child character in the show that we were introduced to, the little pickpocket. You know what I'm talking about? And then I also think if you'd have brought back a Willie Scott, or if Marion would have had a bigger role, that would have also taken away from the exploration and relationship of Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Right?
Yeah, that's and Mads Mikkelsen is
always creepy.
Just a great bad guy.
Even if he was a good guy, you're creepy.
But this guy, I'd never heard of him before. Boyd Holbrook.
Is
his name. The blonde Nazi.
Everybody. He's a bad guy in every show.
It really, honestly, like he is such a perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. Look at his filmography. Guy. He's
really
Boyd Holbrook is the guy where I swear when they're going through casting pictures, they're like, bring out the rogues gallery of everyone that just looks like, he looks like if what would have happened if Draco Malfoy would have grown 5 inches.
It's that guy everybody knew in high school that you just knew was up to some shady. It was nice enough, but probably some shady stuff.
Well, even
probably wants to hand you some pamphlets.
He was in the Predator reboot.
Oh, was he?
Several years ago, and he was
2018.
He was kind of a good bad guy in that because he wasn't a bad guy, but he was a bad guy. Do you know what I mean? He was just an unsavory hero. Is what he was. And so when I saw him in this, I thought, oh boy, here we go. He's the bad guy.
He plays a very small role in one episode, I think, but he plays Corinzio in The Sandman on Netflix, and he's not a bad guy there, but then he's in. I only knew him from Narcos.
Yeah, he's the other one that I thought was. I liked the casting, but it was just so brief. I was like, was this a favor? Like the Antonio Banderas. Oh, yeah. I was like, what's going on here? We get about 3 minutes of him, and then I was oh.
And it's weird too. Well, not weird, but yeah.
Yeah, like I said, it was like one of those things where. Did he just happen to bump into James Mangold at the water cooler one day?
What you doing this afternoon?
Yeah. He's like, I'm going to go film some Indiana Jones. You want a part?
I mean, that's literally.
Are we even going to have any movies anytime soon?
We have to go to the news, but
or is this going to be all AI stuff now going forward?
Yeah, it's just. I think they could get away with it now, but
at least in the Marvel universe.
Andy saw a very. I would say one of those movies that could have been horrible. Could have been, yeah.
Wait, are you talking about Insidious?
No, I was talking about
because that's
both,
not
actually.
That's not the theme song
for Insidious. It should be though. That'd be funny.
I will tell you something very surprising about Insidious when we come back.
Okay.
That I can't believe I'm going to say.
The Red Door.
And Mission Impossible, whatever which one is, I don't. Is just what you'd expect. Tom Cruise is really he's let's just say this.
Very Tom Cruise.
In 2 years, he is officially 2 for 2. 2 for 2 on knocking an action movie out of the park.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's not what I expected to hear. All right.
Good for you, Tom.
More of the For the People movie show. We'll be talking Mission Impossible and Insidious, The Red Door from James Wan. Right after this look at the news with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News brought to you by Logan Extermination. A 61-year-old Logan man has admitted to shooting and killing a coworker at a Millville construction site 2 years ago. Lorenzo Tina Vasquez accepted a plea deal that could save him from spending the rest of his life in prison. The plea arrangement came Thursday during the 5th day of Tina Vasquez's jury trial in First District Court in Logan. He pleaded guilty to murder, a first-degree felony, and discharge of a firearm reduced to a second-degree felony. Defense attorney Brian Sidwell explained that as part of the deal, prosecutors agreed to dismiss 6 remaining charges. They also will recommend Tina Vasquez serve a term of 15 years to life in prison and be given credit for time already served. Tina Vasquez shot and killed Ariano Nieto Giovanni, a 29-year-old man, at a Millville home construction site on August 12, 2021. He surrendered to Cache County Sheriff's deputies nearby, still with blood on his clothing, and admitting he had shot the man. A handgun and shotgun was located inside his truck. Tina Vasquez told deputies he and Giovanni were co-workers and had been in a confrontation earlier that morning in which the victim had threatened him. He said that after the fight, he left the job site and went back to his home, fearful for his family. Tina Vasquez claimed he killed the victim in self-defense because Giovanni had threatened him with a knife and said he was a member of a Mexican cartel. He explained rather than waiting for Giovanni to come to his house and possibly harm him, he shot him. During cross-examination, though, Cache County Attorney Dane Murray questioned Tina Vasquez's excuse, noting how witnesses said Giovanni did not have a knife. He also explained how the defendant and his relatives had a history of violent episodes involving the victim's family. Judge Brian Cannell accepted the resolution from attorneys, but noted that the Utah Board of Pardons and Parole ultimately decides when a person is released from prison. He ordered Tina Vasquez to remain in jail until a formal sentencing hearing is held October 11th. The Utah Department of Corrections is investigating the death of Low Key, an 8-year-old Belgian Malinois and canine officer who was found dead in a canine vehicle at the Utah State Correctional Facility last evening. The circumstances surrounding Low Key's death are currently not clear. Executive Director Brian Redd said they are mourning along with all their staff, and at the same time, they are committed to fully investigating the circumstances of Low Key's passing. And drivers in Weber County are advised to expect weekend delays on I-15 as maintenance work is done on 3 bridges from 21st Street in Ogden to Pioneer Road in Marriott-Slaterville. According to UDOT officials, lane restrictions will be in place each weekend through September with reduced lanes during the day and night. KVNU weather is brought to you by the Duct Hunter. If your clothes dryer isn't drying, it might be the dryer vent. Don't buy new. Call the Duct Hunter. They'll come clean it out for you. Mostly clear tonight is the forecast, mid-50s, and then sunny, hot mid-90s tomorrow, upper 90s on Sunday. Today it's been to 87. It's 87 right now. For the latest news, visit CacheValleyDaily.com.
As the summer's war against weeds and pests rages on, a new bug threat starts hopping around, destroying garden plants and flowers. Luckily, you are ready for them with Logan Extermination's Perimeter Grasshopper Control. It's like a minefield for the minute menace.
Good job, men. Another bug bites the dirt. Let's regroup before the next wave hits.
They do what they are trained to do. Strike terror into termites, bash the bed bugs, and cook the cockroaches. Remember the brave men and women at Logan Extermination. Call 752-8450.
Treatment areas vary. Call for a quote today.
A Manhattan architect has been indicted as an accused serial killer in cases of missing women going back to 2007. Police say 3 women with whose deaths they charge him were among 11 bodies recovered along a Long Island, New York beach over a decade ago. Suffolk County Police Commissioner Rodney Harrison.
We're not done. There's more work to do in this investigation regarding the other victims of the Gilgo Beach bodies that were discovered.
Rex Heuermann's lawyer has entered a not guilty plea for his client. Police say they linked Heuermann's DNA, taken from scraps of pizza in a box he threw out, to DNA on the 3 bodies. The House passed a sweeping defense bill today with a pay raise for members of the military, but blocking abortion coverage, diversity initiatives, and transgender care. An Iowa ban on most abortions after about 6 weeks of pregnancy has been signed into law by the governor. A judge is considering a challenge by abortion rights advocates. Wall Street had a mixed day. Chuck Sievertson, ABC News.
Just like you, a healthy tree is a happy tree. At Hull Tree Care, their team is dedicated to caring for your trees. By now, your trees and shrubs are growing like crazy. Perhaps you have some trees blocking your view or posing a potential threat. If so, call Hull Tree Care. They'll get your trees in perfect shape and enhance their beauty. Need a tree or stump removed? No problem. Their cleanup crew will leave your yard clean and tidy. Call 760-6587. That's 760-6587. Or visit HULLTreecare.com.
Are you caring for an aging loved one and feeling overwhelmed? I invite you to consider how the supportive community at Legacy House of Logan can help. Their caretakers are so good at helping your loved one with the little things, like dressing, bathing, and managing medications. But Legacy House of Logan is more than just practical support. It's a social community where your loved one can make new friends. Come meet some of the people and tour the facility on 1400 North in Logan and online at legacylogan.com.
Did you know people travel to Logan from all over the country to see performances by Utah Festival Opera and Musical Theater? Why? It starts with 300 professional local and nationwide artists and staff coming together to create magical performances. First, Lohengrin, a mysterious knight, sails into town on a swan to rescue the lovely Elsa, who has been falsely accused of murder. The knight goes, "Don't ask me my name." Elsa goes, "Okay, I won't. Wait, what's your name?" Everything goes downhill from there. The plot's kind of weird, but the music is stunning, and it's only ever been performed 5 times in the United States. Next, Aida the opera version and Aida the Broadway version. See them both. So, Radames is captain of the Egyptian army. He's supposed to marry the pharaoh's daughter, but instead falls in love with Aida, the queen of the country he captured. They can't live without each other, so they don't, because they're sentenced to death and die in each other's arms. There's also Broadway's Oliver, the classic Our Town, plus concerts and more. Utah students from public and private schools get a free ticket to any or all performances and concerts this year. Don't miss out. UtahFestival.org.
Have a scone for Liam?
Over here. It's, Liam.
Welcome back to KBNU's For the People movie show with Andy Morgan here in the studio, talking everything new in theaters. So we already did our thing, making fun of the conspiracy theory movie. Someone's going to be waiting for you. We talked Indiana Jones, even though we've talked about that before. I finally saw it, catching up to Andy. Now it's time for... Well, which one do you want to do first?
Let's start with Insidious.
You want to do The Red Door first?
Yeah.
Now, this is James Wan again, not just licensed approval.
No, not
director, right?
Actually, it's actually not James Wan.
Oh, I thought it was. Okay.
No. So, really quick, let's talk about, just so everyone kind of knows the...
Oh, I'm sorry. They brought back all the cast of the first one. Not James Wan.
They did. And just so everybody is clear, right? This pretends that Insidious 3 and 4, right, which I think, I cannot remember for the life of me, but I'm pretty sure Insidious 3, I think that's the last key is what it's called.
Yeah, I saw that.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the first Insidious came out in 2011. It was directed by James Wan, who is a horror master.
Yeah.
It was written by Leigh Whannell, who is not a household name, but if you've seen...
And it came out of nowhere, remember that?
Yeah, and if you've seen The Invisible Man, Leigh Whannell is really getting into, kind of branching out on his own, and he's good. He actually plays if you've seen the Insidious movies, he actually plays one of the... I like to call them paranormal missionaries. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
They have the white shirts and black tie. Or I guess maybe not missionaries. I could call them the Paranormal Best Buy Geek Squad. The Paranormal Geek Squad.
Now, Leigh Whannell also was starred in and co-wrote the original Saw with Wan, right?
Yes, you're correct. Yep, yes. Insidious Chapter 2 came out in...
The first one, the good one.
Yes. Insidious Chapter 2 came out in 2013. Those are both really great. Now, Insidious Chapter 3 came out in 2015. James Wan passed on helming that one. He still produced it, and Leigh Whannell took over directing that one. Okay. Not a great. Insidious: The Last Key came out in 2018. Again, not great. Leigh Whannell still wrote it, but he didn't direct it.
That was the fourth one, right? Technically, Insidious,
technically the
Last
fourth.
Key.
Yep,
Okay.
yep. Now, really quick, Insidious: The Red Door. It doesn't. I shouldn't say it doesn't pretend that 3 and 4 didn't happen, but to your point, it's a direct sequel of Insidious Chapter 2. The interesting thing about this, though, is that it is the screenplay is by Scott Teems, based off a story from Leigh Whannell and Scott Teems, but it's directed by Patrick Wilson, who actually plays Josh in the movie.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if it's his directorial debut.
Interesting.
But he does a good job. I was worried I'll be honest, when I went and saw this, I was worried that this was just going to be kind of a throwaway movie, that they were, that they got the cast back and they were like, okay, hey, everybody, remember when these movies were cool 10 years ago? And that I worried about that. But it actually, similar to Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, what it does really well is it doesn't try to harken back too much. It takes where everyone is now, and it like, example, when the movie opens, just to give everybody a little bit on the plot, and I'm assuming with what I'm saying here that you've seen Insidious and Insidious Chapter 2.
Yeah. And if you haven't, you should.
Yeah, they're great.
I mean, if you like scary movies, these are good scary movies.
Yeah. When this movie opens, the Lambert family, right? They're at the funeral of their grandma. And you remember this? She was played by Barbara Hershey. It plays the matriarch of the Lambert family. She's the one who, throughout the movie, she's like, yeah, Josh Lambert, who is Patrick Wilson's character, he can astral project, right?
Yeah.
And she's the one that kind of kept that hidden and everything. Well, so she's passed away at the beginning of the show. They're at the funeral, and just, I love how they do this. They don't really get too elaborate, but you find out that Josh Lambert, played by Patrick Wilson, and Renee Lambert, who's played by Rose Byrne, who's back, they're divorced, right? And they have their children are grown children.
Kind of makes sense after Chapter 2, I think.
Well, and that's kind of what they talk about.
If we're kind of canceling out 4 and 5 and going back to this, is a
it's
sequel.
like, didn't you try to kill us, Dad?
Yeah,
and that's kind of what they say.
Could put some stress on a marriage.
They do. Is that
for listeners? He doesn't mean it.
Well, he doesn't.
He's being.
And remember, they do the
controlled.
hypnosis to try to make them forget both him and Dalton, who's played by Ty Simpkins. And now he's full grown up now. So anyway, you can tell that he has a strained relationship. He's really struggling. He's got seems like some mental health problems. And Rose Byrne,
which I think also makes sense after Insidious Chapter 2.
Well, and remember though, again, they don't remember this, right? So the things that they're feeling, they're not really sure why they're feeling things they're feeling.
They say that at one point, don't they? That something horrible happened.
Yeah,
but you don't know what.
Yeah, and so what ends up happening is she recommends the wife, Renee, played by Rose Byrne. She recommends that Josh take their son Dalton, that they drive to college. That he drives them to college. So he says, "All right, we'll do that." They don't spend a lot of time. I thought, "Oh, is this gonna be a road trip thing?" It's not. And what I love is that without it doesn't feel like they're beating you over the head with a baseball bat about it, but the dynamics between in the familial dynamics are very apt to what parents have today. So Josh he's turning on some old school 70s, like Leonard Skinner. They're hitting the open road. He's eating some beef jerky. He wants to talk with his son, and his son's over there with his AirPods on, just glued to his phone kind of thing. And they do this thing where I love when in movies they text and they don't show the text on the phone. It just like a word bubble pops up and you can read it.
That's easier.
Yeah, and there's some good stuff there. And you can tell that Patrick Wilson, he plays this really well, that you can tell this is bothering him, that he doesn't have his son's attention, that he wants his attention. And so there's some angst there. And I'll give a tiny spoiler. When they get to his apartment, his dorm on campus, the son is going into art, and he's putting up some pictures and things he's painted or drawn with charcoal and pencil and stuff. And there's the grandma and his brother and his mom. And Patrick Wilson says, "Oh, I didn't make the wall, did I?" or whatever. And then they kind of get in this little tiff, and he says,
"I didn't make the wall."
He calls him an ungrateful little, expletive, and they storms out. And then what ends up happening is, they were hypnotized to forget. Dalton goes over to his art class, and his art teacher, wants them to paint from their their soul from the inside. And so she starts counting backwards, 10, 9, 8, 7, and almost just kind of unconsciously hypnotizes him back to where he was. He still doesn't remember.
Not meaning to.
Yeah, but it opens this door, this red door. And here's the great thing. Patrick Wilson has a very light hand in directing. There are some legitimately creepy moments.
That's what I always enjoyed about these movies.
Yeah, he has a way.
The scene in 2. See, I don't even really remember anything from 4 and 5. I saw them, but I remember the scene in 2 where the house is dark. The little baby walker comes out in the hallway, and then there's something with
a rocking horse.
Yeah,
yeah.
And then
when they go to the house of the serial killer, trying to figure out what's going on.
I mean, it was just like jump scares, but like Juan at least was also involved with Paranormal Activity movies, at least the first 3.
No,
that was actually the
guy that directed those was the producer of. He helped with Insidious. Juan was
Lee. That
Conjuring is his other masterpieces too. But to your point, they're not jump scares where you're like it's like booga booga and you're kind of like, well, that was dumb. He knows how your eyes work, right?
Yeah.
And he knows what scares you. An example is at one point in the movie in Insidious chapter or the Red Door, Patrick Wilson is something's chasing him and he's running up the stairs. And it's like, when you dream that and somebody's like, you're just about to get grabbed. I was like, that was pretty creepy. The way I judge scares in a movie is especially if you're still going with the kind of the same scare, after a couple times you're like, okay, this isn't scary anymore. Like you kind of become numb to it.
Yeah.
And James Wan, Leigh Whannell, and in this case Patrick Wilson, they have this great ability that you never get numb. You know what I mean? You're never relaxed to the point where you're like, oh, this isn't scary anymore.
That's why Saw worked.
Yeah, I agree.
The plot of Saw is just 7. Or something like that.
Right.
It's been done. But the reason Saw was such a groundbreaking horror movie is that you really didn't ever, even though it's contained to like this one set, you didn't ever really get a chance to kind of settle down.
Yeah, you don't get to breathe. You're holding your breath the whole time.
And that's what I like about the both. So all of these, Paranormal Activity, Conjuring, Insidious, these franchises in general all succeed, I think, for that same reason.
Yeah. I agree.
Speaking of this, so Juan is involved with The Conjuring, and there's some confusion happening here, and I hadn't thought about this, but I was talking with a friend, and he was like, no, wait, is this the one that Patrick Wilson guy was in? I didn't realize this, but there's confusion among some fans. I found a whole subset of the internet on this, in that Patrick Wilson and the character he plays in Insidious reminds everyone of what's his face, the husband of the paranormal investigator team from The Conjuring.
Oh yeah.
And people are confusing the two, and so he said, "Well, so how do these two worlds interact or relate?" And I said, "They're not.
They're not. No,
the directors and writers are the same, but The Conjuring and Insidious are not tied together."
The weather thing too in the Insidious movies
have actors that look similar,
and I like this is I love how you've got all this scary stuff, but the movie ends in such a heartwarming way. And I'm going to spoil something because I just think it's so. I love the way they wrapped it up. Is there was no like, oh, something's still lurking in the background.
Oh, yeah.
Like they literally just put a bow on it and closed the door. But when I can't remember if he's back at the dorm with his son, and he looks up on the wall and there's a picture of him carrying his son through the further when he was a little boy, because he remembered that. And I just thought that was a great way to wrap it up.
So he makes the wall.
Yeah, and then the mom says, "Hey, maybe you want to come to dinner on Monday? Maybe you're going to get back together." Anyway, I thought it was. I'm sure. I am 1,000,000% sure there'll be another Insidious movie just because Hollywood. If it makes money, it's going to keep going.
The one thing though about Juan and Whannell and all of these people, and this didn't work for Otis or whatever from Paranormal Activity. What's his name?
Oren Peli.
Oren, yeah. Otis. They have new. They're constantly churning out new content. And so I was kind of hoping that because of that, some of these franchises would get ended because they could go to the same studio and say, hey, how about instead of making a really dumb Insidious 14, let's do this new one. And so I'm hoping for that. But I have to ask you this before we go to our last break, because this is the only thing. I love the Insidious movies. The only thing I didn't like, and you just talked about it a little bit. I get it, but the only thing I didn't like, because I was afraid that we were going to do the whole Clive Barker Hellraiser thing. But when they went to the place,
the further,
there was part of me that went, really? Do we have to see it actually? So, do they handle that well in this one?
It's the same as the other two movies. They go
okay,
but it's I think there's a point to it. I get what you're saying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They don't really expend a lot of time explaining it, but it's like I said, if you like the first two movies, this is I think a great closure
ending
to the series, and I gave it a B+.
Okay,
it's one of I wouldn't say it's the best or but it's definitely in like maybe the top 10 movies I've seen this year, and I want to couch that very carefully that I'm not it was very enjoyable. I enjoyed the movie. The other thing too is I went on a Tuesday, right?
Did you squint your eyes ever? Or there's a few scenes that
no and here's why I thought was interesting is the whole theater was packed to the gills.
Really?
Packed, and I felt safer in a theater full of people than I did when I'm there and it's like me and like 5 other people, right? That was cool. The other thing that was cool about it was and this is part of the reason I love scary movies, especially with crowds, is I can't deal with obnoxious behavior in other movies, but when I go to a scary movie, I think it's like going to a haunted house. Like I think it's just fun. Like everyone should just have fun. The noises and the oohs and ahs and yelps and screams and stuff is all just done, out of, is organic versus somebody just trying to be a jerk. So I liked that, and
that's cool.
And people clapped at the end. I haven't been in a movie where people have clapped in a long time, so I think it says something.
I think this is one of those rare things where a horror franchise actually adopted a dedicated fan base. But all right, there you have it. B+ from Andy for Insidious. Kind of 5, but technically 3, or technically 5, but kind of 3. The Red Door in theaters here in Logan. We'll have a little bit of time to talk about Mission Impossible, and next week, right after this.
10 a.m. 102.1 FM KVNU.
Can you imagine what it would be like if you only had one option to choose from when buying a new car? Or while at a restaurant, they only offered one entree? Sounds crazy, doesn't it? Hi, this is Matt Robbins with Quality First Insurance. If your current insurance agent only offers one option, then it may be time to change. At Quality First Insurance, we have access to hundreds of insurance carriers. Auto Owners Insurance and Quality First will give you options. Quality First Insurance, 2129 North Main Street, in front of Fisher Home Furnishings.
The landscaping season is now in full swing, and Canyon Landscaping is still booking for this season. For over 2 decades, Canyon Landscaping has been Cache Valley's leader of new and existing home landscaping projects. Spots are filling fast, so don't wait any longer for your outdoor living to become an extension of your home. To get your project going, request an appointment online at canyonlandscaping.com or call 752-3838. Let's get started on your yard. 752-3838. Canyon Landscaping. Look for the leaf.
Did you know people travel to Logan from all over the country to see performances by Utah Festival Opera and Musical Theater? Why? It starts with 300 professional local and nationwide artists and staff coming together to create magical performances. First, Lohengrin, a mysterious knight, sails into town on a swan to rescue the lovely Elsa, who has been falsely accused of murder. The knight goes, "Don't ask me my name." Elsa goes, "Okay, I won't. Wait, what's your name?" Everything goes downhill from there. The plot's kind of weird, but the music is stunning, and it's only ever been performed 5 times in the United States. Next, Aida the opera version and Aida the Broadway version. See them both. So, Radames is captain of the Egyptian army. He's supposed to marry the pharaoh's daughter, but instead falls in love with Aida, the queen of the country he captured. They can't live without each other, so they don't, because they're sentenced to death and die in each other's arms. There's also Broadway's Oliver, the classic Our Town, plus concerts and more. Utah students from public and private schools get a free ticket to any or all performances and concerts this year. Don't miss out. UtahFestival.org.
Welcome back to KVN News for the people. And Andy, I'm sorry. We talked too long about Insidious, and now there's like 30 seconds for Mission Impossible 4, 5, whatever it is.
I think it's actually 7.
7, 9.
Here's all I'll say. It's long. It's 3 hours, but every minute is fantastic. It's just Tom Cruise at his finest. It's not just stunts and action. There's actual meat to the story. Great performances. Haley Atwell, fantastic addition. It's just great. A plus from me.
Wow, really?
I can't wait till part 2 next year. It's good. So
go see it.
Yeah, see it. We'll talk more about it next week. We'll also talk about Oppenheimer.
Yes, and Barbie.